Hello. How are we today, boys and girls? Welcome to Designated Marksman episode. I can't remember what number this is. Today, we're going to be talking about gear for the Designated Marksman. I'm sure this is everybody's very excited for this video. All right, so let's talk about rifles. What makes your AR system, whether you choose to shoot 5.56 or 308, let's assume you're using an AR system. What makes this system accurate? Well, probably first and foremost would be the barrel, right? Having a thick barrel is going to increase your barrel rigidity, which is going to increase your consistency and your accuracy. Next is going to be this area, right? So your barrel comes in and it fits into your upper receiver, and then your hand guard and your barrel nut go over that, and then your bolt from your bolt carrier group slides in to there. All that, right? So your bolt carrier group being matched to your barrel, bolt carrier group matched to barrel, and having a hand guard that is both free floating, rigid itself, and also has an increased lockup here, right? I have a Midwest Industries Night Fighter rail on this gun, and the primary reason is things I just listed. The hand guard is increased rigidity, as well as the barrel nut and the connection point here for the hand guard is much greater than a standard barrel nut. All right, wonderful. Next would be the upper receiver itself. Having a slightly enhanced, more rigid upper receiver is going to, again, add to the consistency and rigidity of the entire system. This is a Voltor Mur enhanced upper, I believe. That's correct off the top of my head. Something like that. All right. Triggers are nice. Triggers help you shoot the gun better. They don't help the gun shoot better, but nonetheless, we are the ones shooting the gun, so it's nice to have a nice trigger on there. This is the LaRue two-stage. Wonderful. Moving on to optics. Obviously, if we are being the designated marksman, we're going to want some sort of an increased optical package, right? I'm running a Night Force Attacker 4-16 here. You run whatever you want. Could even be an LPVO, whatever the case is, right? Historically, people have run prismatics. I think in the year of 2025 and on, we need to move up to LPVOs or MPVOs. But you do you, boo. It's your gunfight. You got to fight it, not me. So that's what makes an AR-15 accurate. That's where you should put your focus on. Wonderful. I think that's all I have to say about rifles. Oh, and bipods. Bipods are great, right? Bipods are wonderful, especially if you're a designated marksman. Just increasing the stability no matter where you are. You're able to throw some bipods up. Having bipods that can pan and that can articulate and stuff like that is nice, because your terrain is not going to be even. You're not always going to be shooting at the gun range on a flat concrete surface. To go along with those bipods, what we like to have is a rear bag, right? Because I can set this rear bag up. Now it's on the bipods and it's on this rear bag, and I can make slight adjustments in the elevation and what have you by just adjusting this rear bag. And I'm really reducing my interface on the rifle, right? So instead of muscling it and having to hold it and my pulse vibrating the rifle and all that, I'm taking all that away, and now the rifle is kind of in a pseudo vise, if you will. Wonderful. You also can take these and run them like this. If I was about to set the fore end of this rifle down on a rock or whatever have you, right? It's sitting on this is going to help jive into all those irregularities of whatever natural piece of cover I'm using or piece of brace I'm using, and not let my rifle be all toppy-turvy on there, right? So that's awesome. You can use them like that as well. This is a nice fancy one, right? Get rid of this rifle again. This one here is nice and fancy. As you just saw, it has multiple ways that we can connect it to the rifle. We can lay it flat. We can stand it on its side this way. We can stand it on its side that way. Gives us lots of options. This is expensive. These are socks. This sock is filled with sand. Sand is really nice. You can mold it and it will kind of stay the way that it is, and it gives you a really stable platform. However, it's a little bit heavy. This is a sock with airsoft BBs inside of it. Not quite as stable, but much lighter and easier to carry around. Wonderful. So those are rear bags, stock bags, squeeze bags, whatever you want to call them. All right. This is a chronograph. This is a really nice one. It's a bit pricey. I understand if you can't buy a pricey one. The more expensive ones are not only more versatile, but they are more accurate as well, as opposed to the old school ones with the triangle prongs and all that you had to shoot through. Whatever the case is, you have to have a chronograph. You have to have a chronograph so that you can know what your muzzle velocity is in true reality, and that way you can put that into a ballistics calculator or develop dope charts like we've already talked about. If you don't know what your muzzle velocity is, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to have precise shots at all. Wonderful. Probably next most important is a laser rangefinder. So a laser rangefinder in actual tactical application is going to be critical, as well as whenever you're at the range, getting your data and all that, shooting at distance, trying to true your data. Targets are never actually at the exact yard line that everybody says they are, so being able to know what exact yard line it is you're getting data for is critical. So this is important not only for training, but for real world use as well. Next would be a weather station, right? This is a Kestrel. This is an old Kestrel, so it's the old top of the line version. So it is awesome at weather station, but it does not have an internal ballistics application, which is unfortunate for me. Womp. However, if you buy the new models of these, they come with a ballistic application calculator. Ballistic calculator, that's what it is. A ballistic calculator, internal, which is wonderful. I either need to replace this or right now keep my cell phone in a Faraday bag and run it as my ballistics calculator. So this tells you the weather and the wind. You can kind of cheat by without these, right? This is the third order of business. You can cheat by without this. You can pull the weather conditions for whatever weather station is nearest you here in modern times before everything ends, and then you can kind of just run with a regular thermometer, or even just feel about what temperature it is and make your shot adjustments off your first shot. Again, we're designated marksmen, not snipers, right? We want to have increased combat accuracy inside 300 to 600 yards. We are not trying to have first round impacts at 1,000 yards plus. Okay, so we can kind of wing things a little bit more, but being as accurate with our information input is going to make us be more accurate with our shot placement. So the better we can be with that is mo better. This is still really important. It's just not the most important piece of support gear. Coming in here, not last and not least, binoculars. So a lot of people go spotting scopes. A lot of people go spotting scopes because they want to be able to see their actual impacts at like 100 or 200 yards for making adjustments and stuff like that. However, 8 or 10 or 12x binoculars are much more effective for real world use. These are much more effective observation tool for observing the battle space, for identifying targets, and these are still amazing for like long range shooting at 300, 400, 500 yards, shooting at steel targets, and being able to identify your splashes and make call corrections as a spotter. These are amazing at that. So these actually binoculars, 8, 10, or 12x binoculars, actually serve the field purpose of an observation tool better than spotting scopes. So if you want what you're going to use in the real world more likely than what's going to be useful at the range administratively, Binoculars are the play. Spotting scopes are great. If you have a spotting scope, it's awesome to have in the arsenal. Boom. There you go. And then is a tripod. So not every target will we be able to engage from the prone. So if we have like high grass or elevation mismatch or whatever the case is, and we're forced to take a shot from the standing or the kneeling or more elevated position, and we don't have the time or the ability to use something to support ourselves with in nature or build something, carrying a tripod can be awesome, right? This is last on the list. There's a lot of scenarios and patrols and stuff where I wouldn't even take this out on. This is starting to kind of flex more into the sniper-ish realm, right? The whole designated marksman is to be light like a rifleman, just have increased accuracy at combat effective accuracy at combat relevant ranges. So this isn't important. If you're just getting gear, don't go spend all your money on this. This is a man. Personally, what we have here is this is a Manfrotto. I don't forget the model. It's super old, not carbon fiber, but still quality tripod. And then we have some Amazon ball head joint with the old school hog saddle. So a lot of guys like to run just an arc mount on a ball joint and then get arc rails or arc attachment on their handguard. I am really a big fan of the old school hog saddle because this clamping method is universal. I can use this on my rifle. I can use this on everybody else's rifle. I can throw a spotting scope in here. I can throw binoculars in here. So this is just a super universal link up that allows me to utilize my tripod with anything that I want to. Right. So, quick overview. You have to get a chronograph to even get the data to begin to shoot precision, long range, designated marksman type stuff at all. Next most important is a laser rangefinder, so you can identify what proper ranges you're shooting at. And this is going to be a massively useful tool in the field. Then we're going to want to get a personal weather station, so we're able to get accurate weather data from where we are currently standing, not just somewhere close around us. Observation, right? This is a good tool even if we're not a designated marksman, but if we are, observation is awesome. It's important to be able to see what you're looking at without having to use your optic, and being able to pass this off to somebody else so they could spot for you. Not always going to be what you can do, but it's nice to have that option around. And then last but not least is the tripod, right? It's heavy. It's not going to come with us every time. It's not going to be applicable in every environment or every mission. But when it does, when we can carry it and when we need to use it, it's going to massively increase our accuracy. Yeah. That is the gear a designated marksman needs and why. Thank you for watching, boys and girls. Almost ended it early on, y'all. We got to talk about how do I carry all this shiz, my diz. Here's my chest rig. So, and this is why if you've heard my previous videos, my gear videos, I love canteen pouches. I love surplus gear that is universal in nature, right? Okay. Laser rangefinder. Right there in canteen pouch. Super easy peasy. Binoculars. Realistically would probably be in our bag a lot of the time, but if I had to have them readily accessible but still move around, right? Not every pair of binos will do this. Some you can even get micro binos that'll do this super easily. But this pair of 10 by Leopolds fit inside that canteen pouch just fine. Bada bing, bada boom. Right? Kestrel would probably for sure go in the bag. You're not going to be, in my opinion, like on patrol, pulling this out and checking the weather regularly. It's only going to be when you stop or when there's been drastic weather changes that you pause to pull this out and check the weather. Realistically, you're gonna, like, before you go out on patrol, right as you step, right before you step, you're gonna check all your weather conditions. You're gonna plug that into your ballistics calculator. You're gonna get your wrist book, and you're gonna write down the specific data that's relevant to you for that day, for your mission, down here on your quick sheet card. And then you're gonna put this back in your bag, and you're gonna go out on all of your operation. And only if you're out for an extended period of time and have the opportunity to pull this out and recheck and reapply new data, are you gonna do that. You're not gonna be doing that like while you're on the walk mid patrol. So, yep, this will probably go in the bag. This is small enough. These new chronographs, right? Not necessary and not going to happen all the time, but I could also see this coming on operation again in the bag. Right, if we're setting up an LPOP or something like that, I'm going to bring the tripod, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to bring this, and I'm going to almost transition into a pseudo sniper role in that LPOP, right? Where I'm in a set position, so I'm able to create a super stable shooting position, continually check and track all my data, and have super precise shots if and when I need them. It's not going to be like the everyday thing for a designated marksman, but it's definitely a thing that you can do. Wow. And look at that. I didn't even have the microphone next to me at all. Hopefully you heard what the hell I was saying.